Everybody have a good weekend? Good. All right. So today we are working on the second draft edit. I want to go over some things just to review because this is academic writing, right? So some of the things I've been seeing in your last paper in the drafts, and it's normal to do it in the drafts. Now you're just editing, right, in this portion. So besides the normal things like word choice, transitions, right? Sentence flow. Remember we talked about sentence variety? Working on that. So those are the traditional things. Make it interesting to read, easy to read. But also for academic writing, make sure your signal phrases flow smoothly into the quotes. That you have them, right? My computer is freezing, hold on. Introduce any piece of information from a source with a signal phrase. It signals to us you're about to give us something from an outside source. Give us the qualifications the first time that you mention somebody, an author. Is it whether it's a website, whether it's a reporter, researcher. These are some of the most common things, the errors that people get marked off for in the final draft. Questions so far? For you guys, as somebody who's paraphrasing, check all your paraphrasing at this point and make sure it's not too close to the original. Because your last draft will go through a plagiarism checker called safe assign. And if it will flag anything that is too close to the original. So you want to make sure that you are putting everything into your own words if you're paraphrasing it. If you're not paraphrasing it, there should be quotation marks around it, right? So make sure it doesn't accidentally plagiarize your source. Does anybody have any questions? Because that's usually a big area of concern for everyone. What are some of the rules we talked about paraphrasing? How many words in a row is generally too many? Yes, 3 words. You want to avoid 3 words in a row. Can you use a word from the original? You use a word from the original source? Yes, what does it depend on? Yeah, if there's not another good word that means the same thing, you can use a word from the original. You don't have to like replace one word with like 3 words just to get the idea across. So if there's really, something like touchscreen, there's not a whole lot of ways to say it, or robot. You can use words from the original in that case. But mainly it should just sound like something that you would say. If you read it and it sounds like an echo of the source instead of you, then you're probably a little too close to the original, okay? Because you're just communicating the ideas. So if you're reading someone's paper today and they're sounding a little too academically, you know, unlike themselves, make sure that they're paraphrasing fully or that they put quotation marks around something. Okay? So put it fully in your own words. No more than 3 consecutive words from the original. You can use words from the original if there's no good replacement. Otherwise, you want to find a good replacement for the original words. Okay. Use your thesaurus if you have to, but don't get crazy. And we're talking about thesaurusizing your paper. The other thing, no use of personal pronouns. You're not supposed to be putting any of your personal experience in an academically researched paper because it's all supposed to be based on research. So you don't want to use first or second person. That includes things like we, I, we, you, your. Those are all first and second person pronouns. Okay. No contractions. So hopefully you weren't worried about contractions in your first draft. So one thing you can do is Control F and search for the apostrophes. Just check and make sure. I mean, sometimes the apostrophes are there because it's a possessive word, right? But if it's an apostrophe there for a contraction, then just make sure you use both words in the contraction. Can't becomes cannot, don't becomes do not, right? But if you search for the apostrophes, you can flag it and make sure you get them all. Okay. And word choice. Now is the time, besides choosing best words, you want to choose more formal words. Okay. So if you were fairly informal before in your draft, which sometimes you are, now it's time to upgrade your language to the more formal choice. Another thing you guys can help each other with, and this is tone, right? Tone is a big part of ethos appeal, which is how much we trust and believe in you as the author. How reasonable do you sound? So if you're going through someone's paper and you think they're sounding a little bit too harsh, you can just give them a heads up and say they might want to choose more neutral wording, help them be more diplomatic. Okay. So if you remember that video, all of those things we talked about, and these are things I'm going to ask you about in the final too, so it's good to remember. More formal tone, no contractions, no personal pronouns. Now, sometimes your instructor might ask you for your personal view, and in that case, they're giving you permission to use I and you. But for this paper, I want your opinion, but I want it to be based on research, and you don't necessarily need to use I and you to do that. If it helps, if you did it in the draft, if you have something like, I think abortion should be legal. Now you can just help them by crossing out the first part. And it sounds stronger, right? Say it that way instead of hanging the I out there in front in the sentence. All right. So this part is about making it pretty. If you see something where you think they still need more evidence or there's still an argument they need to address, definitely mention that. But overall, you want to help them with their sentence flow, word choice. So highlight words you think they could replace with better words. Same with sentences. If you feel like the sentences are choppy or hard to read, highlight those suckers too. Okay. Help them find any of the contractions, any use of I or you. Flag anything that sounds unreasonable. Okay. So yeah, this draft is mainly about making it easy to read, making sure also your formatting is all there. Do they have signal phrases? Are they using the in-text citations correctly? If you spot something like with punctuation wise and you know the period should be after the closing parentheses and not also after the last word, right? Help them clean up some of the MLA formatting. So we're gonna work on this today and probably a little bit tomorrow too, because it'll take a while since it's a longer paper. So if you guys would go ahead and exchange papers through email with someone, and just make sure you give it a really thorough read over and really look at any ways that they can improve transitions, flow, word choice. Okay. Any questions? If you do have a question about something that comes up in the paper, you can type it to me in the chat. You can type it privately if you want to. I'll take a look and try and help you out with a sentence or word. If you're looking for a different word for something, you can suggest words for them if you know something. Or you can just highlight it if you're not quite sure and you just want them to know that they need to choose a different word. We really want to work on the editing, because the better you come across, it's going to hurt your ethos if you have a lot of errors, right? If you don't sound like you know what you're saying, it's going to hurt your argument, which will hurt your paper grade. All right, then go ahead and start reading papers once you get them. Put any questions in the chat. All right, I'll be online for a couple hours after class. If anybody has any questions for me, just email me. And otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.